waste of time. Every 5 years you've got to pay X amount of money to show that you're a professional driver, blah blah blah, this and that. Okay, if we have to do this every 5 years, how's about the remaining people on the roads also? Car drivers, van drivers, every other driver. So driving should be a privilege and not a right. Let me repeat, driving or riding should be a privilege and not a right. What I mean by that is some people definitely should not be on the roads at all with the standard of driving that I've seen. 100% no way should be on the roads. Now if you imagine if every 5 years they said, right, if you don't do this course, even do like a little refresher, you have to go through what we've got to go through, 35 hours sat in a classroom bored to death hearing about legislations telling us how to drive, this and that, blah blah blah. Okay, if we have to do that, we have to pay out of our own pocket, or if you work for a company, if they put you through the CPC course, then how's about everybody else should have to exactly go through exactly the same thing that we have to go through to prove that they are actually suitable, capable to still be on the roads. So things like refreshing, speed limits on roads, legislations for cars to especially on the roundabouts with a truck and a trailer, highway code rule 187 in the UK. Basically, well, in a nutshell, just beware of trucks taking a wider line around roundabouts or certain bends. Like you might need to take a different line to get across, so you might need to straddle a lane to get across. You might need to go on the other side of a road to turn left into a tight left-hand turn, or vice versa, turning right. So if we have to do such things, and I believe that everybody else should have to do it also, and then we'll see then whether if you are suitable and if you can actually go through all this, carry on driving down the line. So every 5 years should be done standard. Then why is it only truck drivers having to pay to do this? As we're professional drivers, well, how's about taxi drivers, van drivers, Amazon drivers, just car drivers in general? You should actually be professional drivers on the road. Should be able to drive professionally and courteously on the road. But do we see it on a day-to-day? No. With the standard of people here that I see, again, lane discipline or lack thereof. How many people do you know that just hog the middle lane when it's completely clear, the motorway is clear, there's nothing on the inside lane, nothing at all? They just sat there oblivious, not even doing a reasonable speed. They just want to sit around 50 or 55 miles an hour in the middle lane, clogging up. You've got trucks. Now we can't go in a fast lane to overtake, because that will give us a fine or worse. We can't undertake these people, because if they were to get into an accident and we were undertaking them, we'd still be at fault. So there should be a stricter enforcement from the police. I've heard this, oh yes, we're going to enforce these middle lane hoggers, blah blah blah. Heard this. Not once have I even heard about a single person who's been done for middle lane hogging. And I've seen it where people have sat in the middle lane for miles and miles, refusing to move. And you've had people going round them, taking risks, flying. You've seen people flashing with people to get out of the way, refuse to move. And lastly, the other thing that should be in law is every single driver that doesn't drive a truck, let me say, every single driver, rider, cyclist that doesn't drive a truck should be forced as part of their driving test to sit in a passenger seat of a truck, whether it's a rigid, an articulated truck, you know, for a week, not even a week, 2-3 days, you know, 6-7 hours a day. So you can actually see from our viewpoint, from our perspective, what we see, you know, and what the problems that we see on a day-to-day. And also, you know, that would actually make these people realize that yes, you know, we need more room, sometimes a bit more understanding when we're trying to go. You know, we're not going to accelerate as fast as everybody else, and we need to know about the working time directive for us, because unlike car drivers, we're working on a clock. When that clock runs out, if you've got nowhere to park, if you go over your hours, you're potentially looking at an infringement which could end up costing you, depends what the infringement is, you know, hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds. You know, if you go over your hours, depending on how much you've gone over, if you can't find parking, you've gone over your driving hours, you've gone over your working hours, you've had insufficient rest, just anything. So, you know, this should be made to understand that when truckers are trying to get somewhere and you're, you know, just dawdling along, doing 40, doing 55, refusing to move, you're actually impeding our progress. You know, the wonder why we're getting slightly miffed, to say the least, is because we're not all idiots. We're working on a clock that we've got to abide by on a day-to-day. And like I said before, if we get any form of infringements, yes, if it's under exceptional circumstances, you can do a manual printout, which I'll show you guys later on, and you can write on the back of a printout, let's just say for example, there was an accident on the M6 motorway, the motorway was closed for 4 or 5 hours, you've gone over your hours by an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours because you've been stuck on a motorway, then you can write on there, yeah, and the, you know, the people, the DVSA, they can see on that date, on that day, on this stretch of motorway, yes, there was an accident, it was exceptional circumstances. Okay, yeah, you've done your printout, and you've got justification as to why you've gone over your hours, and that's sound. But it's not always the case in England, especially with the amount of traffic, diversions, delays, if you're going from depot to depot. So not only are you looking at, you know, delays, you can get some of these places, you might get there early. Some places you get there early, sorry driver, you're too early, come back afterwards. You come back on your time, you get there and you're still made to wait an hour, 2 hours to get unloaded, which is an absolute farce. And if you get there late, forget it. Sorry driver, you're late, you're gonna have to rebook it or come back a different day. So this is why we get slightly miffed, which is why we also get a lot of Tourette's. And then people say, oh, you should plan your day better, this and that. Well, clearly you've never driven a truck in your entire life in the UK, let's just say, because in Europe you can usually, I'd say about 95% of the time, you can get from where you're going to where you need to get to without any kind of major delays. You know, you can get, like I said, I was in Spain last week, you know, and I said roughly I'd be stopping about an hour away from Bilbao ferry terminal, and I could have done if I would have carried on, if I took an extra 45-minute break and got down the road another 20-25 minutes or so. But at that time I was feeling tired and it just wasn't safe for me to carry on driving, and I would have run the risk that potentially there would have been, you know, not enough parking or safe parking for me to have you know, found. So I stopped, and in the end I was only an hour and a half away. but you know, you can gauge, and you can usually, your calculations are pretty correct. And it used to be the way here in England again quite a few years ago, where driving at night time, you know, you could have said, yeah, driving at night time so much better, you could miss all the traffic in the daytime. Well, that's gone out the window. You've got roadworks, diversions beyond a joke, highways agency, but don't put diversion signs. I've seen people moving diversion signs to be little swines to get people lost. Instead of diversion turning left, they've moved the sign right. So obviously you're following it. You know, you're not following your sat nav because you said follow this diversion to such and such a place. And then, yeah, then you end up somewhere stuck because some imbecile has decided to either A, not done the job properly, which happened to me about 4 or 5 months ago going down towards London, and I rang the not the police, the highways. I spoke to one of the highways agency guys. Luckily it was at the side of the road. I said to this fella, I was driving around on the outskirts of London. There was me, there was literally a convoy of foreign trucks, but obviously don't know the area, neither did I. I'm not, you know, I don't really know London like that. We were driving around in a loop 2 or 3 times trying to find a way out to get to where we were going. And the problem with that is we've got width restrictions, weight restrictions, height restrictions, so where cars can just disappear, take any road, with us, we've not got that luxury. We've got to be very, very careful. We can only follow set routes, so which is why if people have moved the diversion signs, they can understand the kind of chaos that can actually cause. And then people will be thinking, oh, this driver's taking a wrong turn, idiot truck driver, idiot this. Well, I'll tell you what, let's try idiot people that have, you know, not done their jobs properly, or people have moved the signs. But anyway, enough of what grinds my gears, let's just enjoy the ride. And another thing, which I will say, in the UK, which I don't see anybody, well, I don't say not anybody, but I don't see people doing it more. It's more of a European thing. If you're coming up to, say for example, I was on the motorway before, on the M6, and I got on the A50, which is a dual carriageway, and the road was flowing absolutely fine, and about half a mile or so, the traffic had completely ground to a halt. I mean, completely stopped. You know, and I could see from my vantage point, I could see that the traffic had ground to a halt. You know, I put on my hazards to warn people that, you know, another truck behind me, look, I'm gonna have to slam on soon to slow down. I didn't see anybody putting on the hazards to warn people of this, you know, impending road stoppage or, you know, potential accident. People just hit slam the brakes, you know, just bloody hell, you know, use a bit of common sense. And you'll see a lot of European drivers, you'll see them, if you got to, you know, anything of major hazards, you'll see that blinkers come on straight away. Come on, so at least, you know, if you're riding behind them, you see the hazards, like, okay, I need to maybe slow down for something up ahead, something in the road, or, you know, accident up ahead. But yeah, it defies belief. The amount of times I've seen trucks climbing the hills, very heavy, doing 15-20 miles an hour, not a semblance of hazard lights on at all. And if you're empty or you're quick coming up behind them, you know, come on, man, at least let us know. If you're just going that slowly, you know, it gives us enough time for us to actually indicate right and go past you. But if we're coming up, we're catching you, and then we just see, like, you're doing 15-20 miles an hour, common sense, which has just gone out of the window again. It's lacking over here. Right, let's raise the rear axle. I just had it down before to give me a bit more traction in the wet. When it was hammering it down before, just massive puddles. So now, reasonably dry. And you're saving wear and tear on your tyres as well by lifting it. Less friction, save a bit of diesel as well. Now I've got 2 hours and 6. Sat nav saying I've got 1 hour and 14 away from this place. And I've got to get there. I've only got 2 pilots, mind you, so it should only be about 5 minutes to get these off. So I might literally have about 10-15 minutes to get parked up and play with. Sat back there because I see the tail swing on this trailer. If I would have got too close, potentially could have caught me when it swung round. Again here, always as a truck driver, know your heights. 4.3 meters, 14'3". We're at about 14'2". So you should always know your heights. That's one of the biggest things you should always need to know. Your heights, your weight restrictions, but your heights more so. Sometimes obviously you have different trailers of different heights. Also we don't do double deckers, but I can't remember what height they are, mind you. I can't remember what they are for the double deckers. But yeah, with ourselves here, with this one, which is why I prefer, I think the low ride European spec 4x2 units, because in Europe you're only allowed 4 meters, which is 13'1". So you'll see all the European trucks in the UK all 4 meters. So that's with the truck and trailer combination. So I have to try and get in the middle here.
En la rotonda, gire a la derecha, cuarta salida.
So we're in here. Yes, we're in. Right, come on cars, go, come on van, move it, come on lady, go, 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 come on Milwaukee. need to straddle both of these lanes here to get round this bend. And this car is going to try to squeeze past, so you're going to sit back and have a bit of common sense. Yeah, best pull back in, car. No need to be going all this way here as well. Take a lot of these wide.
Gire a la izquierda, luego giro a la derecha más adelante.
We get these little hatch markings here. Use every bit of space what we need to get through these lights. I love these little technical sections in these little towns, to be fair. Keeps you awake. Got nice little turns, some tight little bits of road. Sometimes just boring when you're sat on a motorway just cruising along.
200 metros, gire a la derecha.
Again, we've got to take it wide here because of this bollard, so we can get all the way around.